Welcome to Printing Profits. A day in the life of an online store owner will look different for everyone. That's the beauty of it. Deciding where and when to work or how much effort you want to put in, it's all up to you. But aside from creating designs, publishing listings, and handling customer service, there's something else that truly successful merchants also do to maximize their profits. And for Dori Schmidt, those details mean knowing every nitty and gritty detail about trends. Welcome to Printing Profits. I'm Talish Suffer. For over a decade now, Dori Schmidt has been the owner of 4 separate Etsy stores. And in her first year, not only was she able to make $100,000 in sales, she also quit her 9-to-5 job to become an Etsy seller full-time. Later on, she started incorporating print-on-demand products into her stores and has also been coaching new Etsy store owners through her popular online courses. But it's her ability to spot a trend, create a product around it, and get people excited to buy it that's got me excited to talk to her today. Dori, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Talish, thanks for having me.
So being able to pick up and monetize a trend quickly is a skill that can take some time to get right. But once you do, the payoff can be pretty substantial. How do you approach, say, spotting a trend and deciding whether or not it's viable to create any products around?
Oh, I could go on for a while about that, actually. Well, so I have a couple of tools that I use on my end, obviously, that help me spot trends. Things that are integrated with Etsy that help me see like back-end information on what is trending. But one of the biggest ways to spot trends, honestly, is to look around. Look around what's in the stores, what people are wearing online, Pinterest, Google Trends, eRank. Obviously, a lot of people use things like eRank and the other platforms to actually get the back-end data on what is being searched for on Etsy. As far as trends go, though, I usually recommend that if you're selling print on demand specifically, and whether you're selling it on Shopify or you're selling it on Etsy, I typically will let my students know, like when they want information on how they can be better at spotting trends, is once they see it and it's already blown up, they've in my opinion, they've kind of missed the boat on it. So they need to figure out ways to spot the trend early on, because typically by the time that you've seen it and it's saturated and you have bestsellers on Etsy and you have bestsellers here and there and there, that's the problem, is that now they're already best selling. You need to be prepared ahead of time, and you need to be designing and researching for at least 3 months ahead of time to stay on top of trends. The other thing I want to say about trends is that unless it's a holiday trend, trends are alive a lot longer than people think. People think when they find trends, they find a hot trend, doesn't matter where they find it. They think that a trend is only going to be about 3 or 6 months long. And the reality is that trends last years, more like 3 years. So it depends on the trend, of course. But I would say those are kind of my top things that I tell students about trends.
I mean, I understand having the research, if you've done the data, if you've gotten the data from before, but I find this idea interesting that you're saying that it's like, all right, if I've already seen it, the trend is halfway there, or it's moving along. But I guess, like, on the one hand, you're saying, okay, keep an eye for trends, but if you do see it, it's already too late. So how do you know when it's just popping off that, okay, this could bubble into something?
It's not that if you see it, it's already too late. But if you're going and you're seeing it's saturated on a particular platform, such as Etsy, if you're seeing it everywhere already and there's already proof that like everyone is buying it, it can just be harder to break through the trend when you're not jumping on it beforehand. So if you want to take eRank specifically, or any of the platforms that give you the data in the back end, you want to catch the keywords and you want to catch the trends before they explode. And we have the capabilities to do that now with all these platforms that have the API information directly from Etsy. Mm-hmm. They're purchasing the API information from them so that we can know ahead of time and forecast what the trends are going to be. So you want to look for things that have high search volume and low Etsy competition. And you want to make sure that before they get saturated and before they get high Etsy competition, you've already spotted the trend.
Can you give me an example of a time where you spotted a trend that you didn't know was going to be a thing yet, but it ended up working out for you?
100%. So I have 3 Etsy shops. I have a print on demand, I have digital products, and I have jewelry. Mm-hmm. So what I love too about trends, a little side note about trends, is that how do you say it? They can go across multiple categories.
Sure,
so for instance, about 2 years ago, I remember the moment I was following another popular print on demand kind of guru, and they were talking about trends, and the trends for strawberries came out. The strawberries were like really, really trending, starting to really, really blow up. And at the time, I hadn't done any strawberry anything in my print on demand shop, but I used the strawberry trend to carry over into my jewelry shop. And wouldn't you know, it has been my best seller to date. And it's something that I would never have carried carried in my jewelry shop ever. Yeah. But because I knew that, like right now, I mean, even still, strawberries, mushrooms, daisies, the smiley, like all the stuff that's trending, it trends across multiple categories. It doesn't just have to be print on demand. So I used what I knew and my expertise in finding early trends, and I carried it over into my jewelry category. And like I said, literally for 2 years straight, it's been my number one selling item in my jewelry shop. Wow. Because of strawberries.
Would you say that one of the benefits of, creating products around trends is that the marketing kind of almost takes care of itself, with all the attention around that trend? Or is there something else that, we should be doing when we're creating products to these trends when it comes to marketing to make sure that we're actually picking up on all that attention?
Well, a little bit of both. I never say to just sit back and let a trend do all the work for you. But if something is trending, you need to hop on it immediately, because that's the whole reason it's trending. Whether you're on Instagram, TikTok, Etsy, Shopify, doesn't matter. When things are trending, that is when all of those platforms are going to push more of that. Whatever content you're creating around it, it all needs to be trending. When it's trending, it's trending. So everything all the content you need to be creating needs to be based around that trend. And you can use a lot of other people's content using UGC, user-generated content. I mean, UGC is one of the most powerful forms of marketing, even with content that you don't even have to create yourself, because it's social proof that millions of other people are creating content with it or for this particular trend. And it just amplifies and solidifies the fact that you are promoting something that's trending by even using user-generated content that furthermore shows you that it's trending. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, is it more competitive then to create products around trends, or do you think it's easier to stick to those evergreen niches that people know work? What's more challenging?
I think creating content for trending products is obviously easier because you can ride the trend, right? Mm-hmm. You can ride, if anything is trending, you're going to get more views, more searches, more sales, everything because it's trending. Now, it's trickier to create content and products possibly that are not trending yet, because you kind of want to be the spearhead for it though. You need to learn how to do that, right?
Definitely. I mean, on that same vein, then, when it comes to marketing those trends, I mean, or those products based on those trends, because you've already said like, all right, the attention is out there. There's user generated content that you can take advantage of. But does that make it harder then for merchants to create products that stand out? If so many people are already doing it, how do you approach your products with either the way that you design them or the way that you market them to make yourself stand out?
Yeah. So I talk to students about this a lot, and I do like one-on-one coaching calls with students, and I dive deep in their shops. And one of the things that I see constantly is when I go to their print-on-demand shop, they have really cute designs. A lot of the times they're really trending designs. However, like you're saying, it's designs that are now everywhere and that people can find everywhere and that they're seeing like constantly. It's this barrage of whatever that trend is. So I tell my students, I want you to take bits and pieces of the trends, try to dissect and research why they are doing well. It could be a saying, it could be a design element, it could be the color, aesthetic of something. And you need to be 2 or 3 steps ahead. And instead of creating another spooky shirt or another Halloween Town shirt or another smiley shirt or whatever it is that you're already seeing all over, I want you to, I tell my students one of the best things they can do is to do a ton of trend research, a ton of just research in general, because the larger your that mental bank I was talking about of like knowing what trends are, knowing what's hot. Sometimes when I'm coaching a student, I go to their shop and I'm like, I have unfortunate news. The unfortunate news is that you don't have a good handle on what is trending and your designs are not in demand. That the number one problem I see with any product-based business, especially print on demand, is that people are spending their time creating things that they like and that they think are pretty. And they're not basing their product selection and their designs off of what people are actually searching for and buying. So I personally, for my shop too, I look at, okay, if I want to create, let's say I go to eRank and I get these hot keywords and it's, I don't know, mushroom sweatshirt. Okay. Let's just say that. I'm going to go to Etsy or Google, whatever. I'm going to look on multiple different places and I'm going to look at what does this mushroom sweatshirt look like that everyone is like really crazy about? Is it kind of vintage and retro looking? Is it really bright and cheery? Is it more like strawberry shortcakey like vibes? Yeah. Or what is it about it that is making it trend? And I try to create my own version of it, because one of the biggest problems with my students with print on demand, where they get frustrated, is that they go and they see these trending products and they go and they create a product that looks very similar to it. And then they're competing with a million other, products. So my advice is to build up your mental bank of trends and design elements and aesthetics and all the things that are trending, and truly try to find a way to make the design still within the trend, but look different than all the other things out there.
I mean, it sounds like, for a lot of people, when they start their stores, a majority of what they're doing is, from what I hear, what they're doing is like, I got to get these listings created. I got to get these designs done and and just get products out there. But it sounds like what you're saying is, the majority of your time, aside from creating listings, should be spent on really just finding that research, finding that data.
100%. I love this topic. It gets me heated up. One of the biggest things I teach is research first. If you follow my TikTok page, you'll see so many times I'm like, guys, research first, then design. The other way to do this. Now, if you research first and then you design, here's how I kind of help people vision it, is like, the whole saying about like throwing spaghetti against the wall. Yeah. Well, if you research first and you have the data to back up the trends and the keywords and all of that, you have to throw a lot less spaghetti at the wall until you get the one that sticks, right? Yeah. Now, can you have success by testing a ton of different designs and keywords and aesthetics and all that stuff, can you have success that way? Yeah, absolutely. You can have success that way. You can find success in your own way. I find that it's less frustrating to do the research up front, so that when you come to Etsy and you are designing your listings, you know for a fact that those designs are in demand. You know how to do the tags and titles and the keywords and all of that to get them found. Otherwise, I feel like you will find yourself more frustrated because you'll be throwing a lot of spaghetti against the wall. Yep. You'll be creating a lot more designs. You'll be putting in a lot more effort. And possibly not seeing the results from it if you don't do the design or if you don't do the research upfront, for sure. We were talking
about marketing a few seconds ago, and you talked about taking advantage of, creating that content, finding user-generated content. When it comes to people marketing trends, what do you think is more effective? Is it creating that content? Is it paying ads? Or paying for ads or Facebook ads? I know you're an Etsy user, so, like having that daily ad budget. What's more effective when it comes to marketing a trend? Which way of marketing is more effective?
Well, I don't typically recommend throwing money on any type of advertising unless you already have proven results that people are finding and liking and buying your product organically. Now, there's other ways to think about this from there's two perspectives to this. So on one hand, I tell students, I don't want you to throw any money on ads until you have proof that what you're selling and what you've created has actual demand and people are buying it. Then you're throwing fuel on the fire, and then you're putting money towards something you already know is selling, and you're putting it in front of more eyeballs. If you pay to put ads in front of more eyeballs on a product that is not in demand, it is not trending, it doesn't matter how much money or how many more eyeballs you get it in front of, it's not going to make it convert any better. It still has to be trending. It still has to be hot. It still has to be in demand. The other side of this is if you are a new Etsy, let's take Etsy for instance. If you're a new Etsy seller, I do have like a strategy where if you'd like to get more information back, more data back more quickly, if you're a brand new Etsy shop, if you don't mind throwing a little bit of money towards ads to get more views on your product, that will give you data back more quickly for you to know, do your designs hit home or do they not? Because you can either throw $50 a month, let's just throw something out there, like $50 a month toward Etsy ads and get that data back more quickly so that they can go look in their stats on, in their dashboard and see, are people clicking on this? Are they viewing it? Are they clicking on it? Are they buying it? And what keywords are they finding it for? And that gives you data back more quickly so that you can pivot and maneuver more quickly in your business. Because would you rather spend zero in ads and go 6 months kind of not knowing, like not trying to gather like that data back? Or would you rather spend $50, $100, maybe $200 in ads over the next couple of months and get that data back more quickly so that you can pivot and make the necessary changes to actually start making sales? So there's two different ways to look at it.
Is the difference then that like if you're trying to get that data with content, that the investment more is just time, because you have to wait to see what the results are as opposed to getting that from ads?
When you're marketing, you're either marketing with time or money.
Right.
Hands down. Whenever you have a business, you're marketing, you're trading your time for either money or time. So if you don't have the money, then your time is what you have to give. And creating content is what you have to do to get in front of more of those people. If you're creating content on your print-on-demand products and it's not generating any comments, any engagement, any excitement, you need to start looking at why. Yeah. And sometimes with print-on-demand, well, with any business, sometimes it can be a hard pill to swallow. But sometimes it's just because your designs are not good and you don't have that mental bank season. You're not seasoned yet. Some people that have a really good graphic design so I went to school for interior design and graphic design. I've been in it my whole life. So I have a little head start when it comes to that. I have a natural knack for design. Does that mean that everything I create sells like hotcakes? No, absolutely not.
Right.
But I have a head start from someone who has zero clue how to use Canva or Photoshop or, all that stuff. And they don't have any design background. But I've spent years now studying trends. So I have a it's like literally seasoning a cast iron skillet. Like it tastes better when you gotta season it. You gotta season your mind to learn the designs and the trends too. And it just is not something that can happen overnight. It just takes time and dedication.
Well, you've been at it for some time. I mean, a decade running an Etsy store, but you also have coached new Etsy sellers on how to start their profitable print-on-demand businesses. What is the most common fixable concern that you hear from your students who are really trying to get that momentum with their stores? Like, what's the thing people complain about to you the most often?
Oh, I can't say that there's one thing. So I'm just going to throw some couple of things that come to mind every time we jump in a student shop. First and foremost, if their designs are good. So if their designs are bad, that's the biggest thing, right? And I hate to say their designs are bad, but the biggest thing is when they just, again, like I said before, are creating things that they like. And there's no proof of demand whatsoever. They just create things that they think look good and that appeal to them or for whatever reason, but they have no proof to back it up. That is probably number one. Other than that, it's usually simple tweaks like their mock-ups need work. They have mock-ups that just don't generate any emotional connection with the buyer. They might just have a plain white background versus being on one of the models or something like that. A lot of the times it's their mock-ups are simply too far away. They have to remember that people are shopping on mobile. 90% of the time, people are shopping on their mobile phone.
Yeah.
So I tell my students, go to your own shop on your own phone, and I want you to look at your shop as a buyer, not yourself. Get out of your buyer head. Get out of your seller head and put on in your buyer's shoes and look. Do your products stand against all the other bestsellers on the front page of Etsy? Can you read what's on your shirt? Can you does it look good? Does it stand out to you? Stuff like that. And the third biggest thing is the titles. If we're speaking about Etsy specifically, which I know most of the people listening to this are going to be Etsy sellers, Etsy and Shopify, but really it carries across regardless if you sell on Shopify or Etsy. Your keywords and your tags and all of that are super, super relevant. And one of the biggest mistakes I see are people using descriptive words that their customers would not be searching in the Etsy search bar.
I see. Yeah.
For instance, if they had a shirt with a quote on it, they're a lot of the times using the quote as their descriptor of their title in Etsy, and nobody is searching that. Nobody.
Yeah.
So there's very few instances where an actual phrase is so searched for that it's actually a benefit to use it in your title. Your first few words of your Etsy title are the most valuable real estate on Etsy. So my advice is to really hone down and find out those keywords that people are searching for and learn how to construct a very good title and tags and keywords for what you're selling.
Before I let you go here, I mean, we talked a lot about trends today, and because you're the trend master, is there something that's bubbling out there that you're kind of curious about that you think might turn into something in a couple months or in a year or so?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, man. I will say that the trends that are still going very, very strong are the retro aesthetic trends. I don't think that they're going anywhere. So I will say that I would look for ways to expand on the retro aesthetic, the vintage, the distressed look, I think is getting even more popular. We've already seen it happen with comfort colors. I personally am obsessed with mineral wash. I love all the vintage textures and looks. And I think that is going absolutely nowhere. Another good trick that I tell students is to sign up for all the email lists of stores that have things that are the same things that your own customer would be into, right? Like, so say you have an Etsy shop that sells very like anthropology type feel, or, maybe it's Pottery Barn, whatever. You should, as a consumer and as a, researcher for your own category, you should sign up for all of their email lists and let them market to you, because what they have some of the top marketing trend experts already out there a year ahead of time spotting trends. So work smarter, not harder. You don't necessarily have to be the one doing that. Let the stores and the other retail stores show you what is coming up and what's in trend. And sign up for their email list and pay attention to what they are marketing, because that is usually a very good indication of what's about to really, really blow up next.
Love it. Dori, lots of actionable tips today. Thank you so much for chatting with us. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Talish. I appreciate you having me.
This is Printing Profits. Hey folks, thanks again for listening to Printing Profits. We'd like to thank Dori for sharing her story with us today, and at the same time introduce you to the talented team behind this program. Executive producer Laura Gelvite, associate producer Anita Njoki, technical and video production Emil Zjasens and Valery Zolechno, sound production Christers Hartmanis, and I'm Talish Suffer. See you next time.